couple hours later, the pups were fast asleep in their pump house. Meanwhile, a demon from the underworld was silently floating over Adventure Bay. When he reached the lookout, he quickly spotted Marshall. The demon seeped inside Marshall's body. Marshall then woke up. What was happening to him? He looked at his reflection in one of the mirrors on his fire truck. His eyes were turning black with a little red dot in the middle, and his teeth and claws were becoming sharper. Just then, Marshall started to develop this new, strange feeling. Instead of being all happy and clumsy, he started feeling evil and mean-hearted. Marshall then goes inside the lookout and destroys everything. The next morning, the pups all saw what happened inside the lookout. Everything was a mess. Marshall, trying to hide his new personality, doesn't want to talk about how it happened and wants to be alone at his pup house. Just then, Ryder calls the Paw Patrol for an emergency. Chase tries to make Marshall come out of his pup house, but Marshall won't budge. Then, Marshall, because of the demon that possessed him, thinks about all the ruckus he could possibly cause. Marshall then came out of his pup house wearing his fire helmet, covering his black and red eyes. After Ryder explained what Chase and Marshall would do, Marshall snickers evilly at the thought of committing arson. As he and Chase race to the rescue, Chase notices that Marshall's teeth and claws are longer than usual and his eyes are now black with a small red dot, and tries to tell Ryder, but Ryder, after looking at Marshall, who was trying to hide the new him, thinks that Chase was mistaken. As soon as they get to a building which is on fire, Chase, since it's his job, keeps a watchful eye on the new Marshall. Instead of getting out his water cannon, Marshall finds a box of matches and sets some other buildings on fire. Chase quickly tells Ryder about the incident, and Ryder calls the rest of the Paw Patrol to help put out the fires. They all, except Marshall, succeed in putting the fires out. Back at the lookout, Ryder and Chase ask Marshall why he just set buildings on fire, with Marshall refusing to answer, only coming back with a few late embers. As a result, Ryder claims that Marshall stays as a fire pup artificially, and Chase strips Marshall of his collar and Paw Patrol badge. Marshall then runs away from Adventure Bay, thinking about any other bad things he could possibly do, eventually finding a place with nothing but darkness and evil, and Marshall is accepted by the other evil doers. So Marshall decided to spend the rest of his days committing crimes and other illegal actions, never once thinking about changing his ways back to good because of the demon which remained inside his heart and soul. A couple weeks later, in the middle of the night, Marshall came back to the lookout with a knife in his mouth. He was going to get his revenge by killing the other pups. Marshall said to himself, "This is preventing me from the Paw Patrol. I ain't for Zuma, then Rocky, then Rubble, then Sky, then Ryder, and I'm saving you for last. Chase." Marshall went for Zuma, Rocky, Rubble, Sky, and Ryder. Chase woke up after hearing Zuma scream, and he put on his Paw Patrol attire and, using his flashlight, looked around to see what was going on. He went to the other pup houses and found all the pups dead and covered with blood. He went to check on Ryder inside the lookout and found him dead too. Chase screams and gets Marshall's attention. With Marshall charging towards the frightened pup, Chase quickly runs towards the slide. Marshall follows him, and while sliding down the slide, the knife in his mouth slips and he cuts himself. Hurt and bleeding, Marshall chases Chase, but just as it seemed that it was lights out for Chase, Marshall faints from blood loss. After a few moments, Marshall stopped breathing. Chase inspected Marshall's body for a minute and found that Marshall was dead. Chase then howls in agony, knowing that he would never be able to play with all of his friends anymore, and spends the rest of his days mourning over his friends' dead bodies, even the dead body of his possessed friend, Marshall. The end.